Hello and welcome back to another Friday Zero on my channel, where we're actually doing a wrap-up today, and then my TBR for November is going to come out tomorrow. It's actually quite a big TBR for writing 50,000 words in a month, but we'll talk about that tomorrow. This month, hold on, I have a post-it. There's my post-it. Has all my stats, because I know some people like stats, and so that's what we're going to do first. I don't have a feeling it's going to pop up on the screen, so just listen. I read 15 books, which is more than the 2 I read last month and the 1 I read the month before, so this was a good reading month for Jacob. 2 DNFs out of that 15, so some people could justify that I only read like 13 books instead of 15. But both of those novels, actually, one of those novels got halfway through, and the other novel I got like 30% in, and only one of those I want to come back to. We'll get there. So 7 3-stars, 4 4-stars, and 1 5-star read. And we're just going to start from the bottom list up. I also don't rate kids' books, and I do have one kid book. I don't know why I didn't rate the other. I did rate one, but I don't know, because I just don't feel like it being a kid book. Either way, we're going to jump on into this. So if you see me looking down, or whatsoever, hold on. It's simply just because I don't have all the books here with me, as one would know. I don't own all my books. A lot of these books, some of the most, I'll tell you kind of what media I read them in, and a lot of them were audiobooks, as I was reading spooky books, and I like listening to spooky books. October was my spooky book month. I read a total of 3 different comics in the month of October, and they were all Buffy related, so I'm just going to hold this one up. This is actually going to be my TBR, as it's the newest one, but I read Buffy number 5, 6, and... or no, is that right? Yeah, 5, 6, and 7. There we go. I read Buffy's 5, 6, and 7 all in the course of like one day, obviously. This is number 8. But that's the point. So, just to shout out some ratings to you. Number 5, I rated 3 stars. Number 6, I rated 3 stars. Number 7, I rated 4 stars. And number 8, I rated 3 stars. This is a moderately okay series. I do have a few reviews for this, but I'm going to actually point you guys over to the reading vlog where I talk into depth about how I feel about these books. Without giving too much spoilers away, right now we're in the 2nd arc. Actually, we have just entered the 3rd arc, which is a crossover event between Buffy and Angel, which is really interesting. There's some spoilers on that cover, but you can't really tell. And I've officially started reading them like physically because my mom's fiance, soon to be my stepfather, buys them, which is just cool, and it's a cool feeling to own them, actually, to physically be able to read them. But overall, they're okay. I don't really like how they portray most of the characters in these anymore. I've just gotten to the point where it's like fanfic, and it's not really good fanfic, but it's just fanfic that I'm going to continue to read as they get released monthly, as I just love to hate things. And obviously, you know, I have a few in here that are actually written 2 stars or below for this series in the first set of arcs. So the first 4, the number 4th one was like a 1-star rating for me. And so we're going up. I mean, we have one, which was a Willow-based one, which was Buffy number 7, which was beautiful and it was amazing. And I really, really did enjoy the in-depth details there. But that's the only comic out of this whole list that I thought was decent and worth your time. I don't actually know if I'd recommend the series. In case you like Buffy, yeah, it's the reboot Boom did. So, moving forward from there, I'll put it right here if I remember, it's a kid's book, so I'm not going to really talk about it. But Cinderella, the Great Mouse Mistake. I didn't rate this. I'm not a child. I read it to my little sister. She would have rated it like 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think she would actually rate this. It took us a minute to read it. And it's only like 80 pages, which is not too bad for what we read nowadays. But it's not I didn't love it. It's the best way to put it. But either way, you know, if you want to read it, I do recommend it to a lower kid or audience because I think it's cool. There's actually a pretty good message in it. But she didn't like all the animals, and I think she forgot what Cinderella was about. So, it's fine. It doesn't really follow Cinderella. Also, there is no prince. I just want to mention it because there could be, you might be reading it to your little girl or something. They might get really excited to see Prince Philip or, like, just the Prince Charming, I think is what it's called, in Cinderella. And he never shows up. I don't think he has one single thing. The king does, but he doesn't. It's minor spoilers, but are you reading it for the I don't know. Either way. The next book we're going to talk about, it's actually one of my favorite books I read this year, if not my favorite book I read this year, and that is a book that I literally have a whole vlog about, so I'll obviously send you over there as well, and that is No Exit by Taylor Adams. I don't really know what to tell you about this, except it's about a girl named Darby who has to pull over to a rest stop going back to her hometown, and she finds a girl in a van, and really, really crazy stuff happens. It's intense, it's beautiful. I was going to read it for Halloween again, but I just said there's not enough time in between. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite books I read this year, and it's a 5-star thriller. I don't give thrillers 5 stars. You're going to see here I'm very, very picky. I get really close, but not a full official 5 stars. And there really isn't much I can tell you about this because of the fact that, it's just one of those stories that you just have to go in kind of blind and just know that's very twisty. I also want to just mention it here for anybody who does like trigger warnings. This does have graphic violence in it. It's not until like the last 100 or so pages, and then also the kidnapping stuff can get pretty gross. There's no molestation or anything in it. Some people could find that a spoiler, but I just want to let you know ahead of time. Just know that there is graphic violence and the kidnapping stuff could be kind of crazy. It's also super duper intense, and it's, like I said, one of the best thrillers I think I've read this year, if not in a very long time. I do have a contender, but it didn't get 5 stars, so, think about that. Also, I can't wait to read more Taylor Adams. I'm waiting some time in between because his debut novel, which is what I'm going to read next, is kind of similar to this one. It's different, but it's very similar in the small locations and stuff. Beautiful, beautiful book. Highly, highly recommend. The next book we're going to be talking about, hold on, let's see here. Oh, okay, cool. Is Lock Every Door by Riley Segar. That poster will be up. And this is a book about a girl who gets to move into her favorite hotel of all time, or this apartment building in New York. I can't remember what it's called. Hold on. Sometimes, Goodreads likes to be nice and tell me. I think it's the Brochester. Okay, Joyce Larson. It's the Brochester or something right like that. But there's a lot of rules that you can't follow. No one's allowed to come in, and no one's allowed to, you're not allowed to have people over. You can't show off the apartment type of thing. Then someone goes missing, and the story kind of takes off type of thing. I really like this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to go into too much detail once again about this. One, I do have a vlog. I read this for Spookathon. Discussing my opinion. Did I read this for Spookathon? I think I read this for... yeah, I did read this for Spookathon. Talking about my opinion about it, but also I am going to be doing a Riley Segar wrap-up here, and hopefully, actually, in the week of this video, so in this week at some point, and that's going to cover all 3 of his novels. But, spoiler, this is my favorite so far. I'm not done with his last one, and that'll be one of my first thrillers I read in the month of November. Either way, I did like it. I highly recommend the audiobook, by the way. I loved the audiobook, and I did end up, stopping and having to pause because I just needed to listen to it. So it was very intense. I didn't like the final act, and I really do think that's the reason why I didn't get a 5-star for me, as I do think a lot of people, do highly regard Riley Segar, and I can kind of understand. I have some iffy opinions, but I love it. I do recommend it. I would put it on hold if you're going to listen to an audiobook or if you're going to read it physically or on ebook. I listened to it as an audiobook, and I couldn't have recommended it better. So the next one I picked up is my first DNF that we're going to be talking about, and that is The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This is also in my Spookathon vlog, which is up on my channel. And I got to, I think it's 30 or so % into it, and I DNF'd it. It was putting me in a reading slump. It wasn't what I wanted. This is about a group that comes and harasses these 2 dads and their daughter, and they harass them because they think they can save the end of the world. And I thought it was going to be much more home invasion-y than it is, without giving way too many spoilers. I didn't read all of it. But I did DNF it, and I'm debating if I'm going to have another video coming out about DNFs, or my DNFs of this season. I know it's a popular thing. I didn't really read a lot. But, yeah. We'll have to wait and see what types of videos I'm going to kind of transform into this channel. But I do recommend it, though. It was well written. I just wasn't a huge fan. But that's The Cabin at the End of the World. The next book we're going to talk about, I have it under here, because I wanted to rate it, was Dangerous Girls. I didn't actually read that. I read... yeah, my first reread of Church of Samuel, which was written by me. I do have detailed vlogs on my other channel, on my writing portion. I'm just going to link that playlist down below in case you want to go peruse it. But oh my gosh, this was a horror novel. How do I describe this? This is about a boy named Abel who goes. You can't read it. It's not out. This is a second draft. Or first draft. I will have to say when I do move in, it's gonna be like next year or maybe even 2021. But when I do move into the revision drafts, and I will gonna need a second person's eyes on it, I will definitely be pushing this towards you guys more. And that's just. But for now, I read it for a second time, and I kind of want to talk about it. And so this is about a boy named Abel who gets sent away to conversion therapy at a school named Church of Samuel, and some very weird things come awry. I don't want to give away the big twist. I used to all the time. Like, oh my gosh, if you guys are from my other channel, you guys already know. And, you guys can put in the comments, it's fine. I don't care. But I don't want to give it away because I just realized it should be a part of the pitch I sell. When I'm trying to sell it to somebody, even though I think this is really more like a self-published, it's so good written. I was so happy with myself with the writing of this. But, at least the first, 140-ish pages, the last 100 pages is questionable, but the first, half, very happy with it. Either way, I did give this 4 out of 5 stars. Yes, I'm a harsh critic towards myself, but it was still 4 out of 5 stars. I don't think I've ever rated myself lower than that. Because even when I go back and I reread books that I read, I wrote in 7th grade, you can't rate that because you were writing in 7th grade. This was this year. I wrote this whole book from February to August. And then I read it again in October because that's what you do when you're a writer. Either way, it was beautiful. Very happy about it. I read that in I don't know, a span of 4 days. I think I did wrap it up in Spookathon though. Another book that I picked up in Spookathon, and I read 4 or 5 short stories out of it, so once again, what can you say? It's a short story collection, though. I did rate the short story collection. That's the debatable one. I rated it 3 stars because I didn't really like any of the short stories that I read out of it, but that is my Stephen King for Spookathon, and I decided to pick up Night Shift. Was I disappointed by picking this up? Yes. It's also a whim type of thing. These are supposed to be 19 of the most unsettling short pieces that he's ever written. There's quite a few different short collections out there for Stephen King, and this one in particular had Children of the Corn in it, which I was very excited to read. It was 10 pages long. That was a disappointment. What was my other disappointments? Did I enjoy any of these? Hold on. Let's see here. I did like Jerusalem's Lot. Let's see here. The Ledge, I did enjoy as well. Like I said, I wasn't a huge fan of Children of Corn. And then, I think the last one, which is The Woman in the Room, also pretty okay. I didn't like them. They're really short, which there's a total of 19 short stories in here. In a 350 page time span, which I just think that's way too many, and there's just not enough time for me to be actually able to, put myself in here. And some of the ways that they were written, I didn't really like. Some of them really helped out. Other ones, they did not. So I don't actually recommend this short collection. I do have one. I can't remember what it's called, but it was amazing. So I have read other Stephen King before. I've read other Stephen King short collections. I read the one with the body in it, and also No Moon, Dark Stars, or something like that. It was one of the first ones I ever read, and I really do enjoy it, and I think I've seen the adaptation that came out of it as well. But overall, kind of a disappointment. Don't really recommend. But hey, that's okay. Moving on, we have another one that's going to pop up over here, and that's The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter, my first ever Karen Slaughter, and oh my gosh, did this take me for a roller coaster. I read this in 3 days. I listened to it as an audiobook. Highly recommend this audiobook. Now, I do know people who don't like it. I think there's a lot of screaming and stuff in it, and I think it brought a lot of emotion, and so I really liked it. I felt like I was in the moment with it. Also, it should be a 5-star. I think it's a 4.75 star, if I'm not mistaken, is what I actually rated it. But honestly, if it made me cry, it should be a 5-star, right? Let me know in the comments down below. What makes you give a book a 5-star? I think I have a video out there. I think I do have a video, or I recorded a video. Is it Upload? I don't know. Where I talk about my ratings. Either way, I gave this 4.5, 4.75 on the verge of 5 stars. This is about I have a horrible time describing this. This is about a family. It's a family dynamic, and their dad. It follows two girls and like their family, but two sisters in particular, Charlotte and Samantha. But they also have their dad, Rusty, who is a lawyer who ends up worrying like these horrible, horrible people and believes that they either are innocent or they can't be, they're innocent so they're proven guilty or something like that. And they end up getting off this person when they're like 13. The youngest is 13 at this point. That's how the story begins. And these two people who are mad about the person who gets let off come in and terrorize his family, murdering and doing other things. I'm going to give trigger warnings for this. I do, however, want to mention it just because I do think some of these trigger warnings could consent or concur to a spoiler or two, as some of these things don't happen until like the last third. But I do think you should know beforehand. I also have heard this is the tame one out of the 4 that I'm going to be reading. I'm reading Pretty Girls next. That's going to be on my TBR for November, and I'm super duper excited. Let me know, since I'm doing like a Riley Cigar wrap up. I'm only reading Karen Slaughter's standalones, as I'm not a detective person, and I know that's what her series are, so I'm not going to read them. But her standalones, I heard, are more like victimized, which I'm much more into, I guess. It's kind of horrible to say. This book, saying I loved it, is kind of horrible to say. But either way. Let me know if you want a Karen Slaughter like wrap-up video where I talk about The Good Daughter, rank them, and the type of thing I'm doing Riley Cigar. I'll mention in that video that I'm going to make for Riley Cigar, but yeah, either way. So, with this book in particular, this book, for trigger warnings, come up with graphic violence, graphic murderous violence, I guess, rape, and then I have seen people put on their trigger warnings miscarriage, because they are all very important, integral to the story. And yeah, it's just real graphic and it's really hard to read, and it made me cry because of it. Charlie, though, as a character, oh my gosh, Charlie as a character was like one of my favorite characters I think I have read from. She's up there with Brie from On the Come Up, and gosh knows how much I love Brie. I talk about her a lot because she's amazing. She's one of my favorite main characters of all time, and Charlie is up there with that. She's very unlikable, especially in the first, and I didn't start liking her until, maybe 30% into the novel, but once I fell in love, I was eating it up. I do have problems. The pacing here is off a bit, and then there's amazing moments that don't ever pay off, or they pay off in, a sentence or two, which I think is just sloppy writing, personally. But, with that being said, this is actually one of the best written novels I think I've read all year, even with the sloppiness that there is a little bit of. That's my critiques, though. I don't really see a lot of people complaining about that. So the next book we're going to talk about is The Last Time I Lied by Ray Cigar. This is so I read his third novel. This is his sophomore novel, and I'm reading his debut at the moment. I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. It's about a girl who was a part of she did a summer camp for 1 year, one summer, and during that summer camp, 3 girls go missing. Did they get murdered, kidnapped, the usual? Jump 15 years later, she gets invited to come back and be a counselor at the same exact summer camp, and she takes the job to go solve the mystery that was before. And I would have to say my least favorite part, actually, okay, I didn't like this book a lot. 3 stars is generous, to say the least. But there are some moments, especially I would say the epilogue was what it got from a 2.5 to a 3 star. That's how good the epilogue is, I won't lie. The final twist, I have heard some people think it's unbelievable, and so it's a little irrational. I think it was beautiful. I really did enjoy it. But the twist before that, I hated. Oh gosh. But that also means I didn't really like these characters either. With Lock Every Door, I really did like that main character, and I liked reading from her. Whereas this one, I did not. In which I said I'll get into more in-depth detail of why and spoilery kind of things in that Rise Cigar wrap-up. But yeah. So the next book we're going to talk about was Spider-Man Far From Home, which, by the way, I want to mention The Good Daughter, The Last Time I Lied, and the next few books are all part of a vlog that's coming up like next week, and then it's my end of October vlog. As we're doing writing this month, I figured I would try to write, and I just wanted to catch up to my Goodreads, and so that's what this video is about. So I do have much more and like in-depth details about my opinions, stuff about those. But either way, the next book we're gonna talk about is Spider-Man. Hold on, I have it here somewhere. Is it behind me? This one. So Spider-Man Far From Home's Peter and Ned's Ultimate Travel Journal. I read this in like a hour time span, maybe even like a 40-minute time span. It's 190 pages. I was shocked about that. And it follows Ned and Peter and MJ as they go traveling across in Spider-Man Far From Home. I don't have a lot to say about this. I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was actually, there's a lot of moments that was annoying. And I don't know why I picked up a book with Ned in it, since I hate Ned, like, with a passion. And just, like, watch my Spider-Man Far From Home review. It's on my other channel, Weekend Movie Bros. I have so many channels, I'm sorry. But I hate Ned as a character. Why did I want to read by him? I don't know. There's a lot of moments in here where I rolled my eyes. I was cringing. It was bad. It was bad. This is a junior novel, though. It is meant for kids. So, you know, take that as a grain of salt. And I'm looking. It has a 4.21. So most people who did read it enjoyed it. So maybe it's for you. I don't know. I hate it. I didn't hate it. Obviously, I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. It made me laugh, and there was just a few clever moments, especially with Spider-Man in general, that I really liked. But overall, did not enjoy as much. Okay, so we're down to the last 2 books, guys. So the next book that I did DNF, which was on Halloween, I think I DNF'd it the morning of Halloween, was Verity by Colleen Hoover. I got to 50% into this, and I just decided no. Okay. This was a journey. So I first started reading this back in July or June, and I don't know if I have a vlog about it. I might have a vlog talking about my beginning readings. The first 50 pages were amazing. I loved every minute of it. And then we got to the actual part what the story is about. So this is about Lowen, who is down on her luck. Her mom ended up dying, and she had to take care of her through death. And so she's poor, she got kicked out of her apartment, she doesn't have any money, she's an author, her books are not selling well, and she gets the job to ghostwrite for this huge author, Verity, and her popular, like, series written by villains or something like that. Some of those lines. The series doesn't really talk about that much. And she goes to this house to do research, and, well, guess what? She discovers Verity's memoir that she had been writing before Verity was in a horrible crash, which gets us to the beginning of the book. And, okay, this is really weird. I've never read a Colleen Hoover before, and this is the one I was recommended because it was a thriller, and it was more darker, more adult, and more, like, sexual, I guess. I like erotic thrillers sometimes, it's a thing. But I would say every portion of this novel disappointed me, except for the memoir. And, yeah. The Lowen character was annoying. The jumps and stuff like that were predictable. It was like a trashy, like a real trashy horror film that you would probably turn off because you probably guessed the end and you really don't want to see it come forward. To the point where I was like, I'm pretty sure I know every single thing that happened. And so I was like perusing to like the last few chapters to see, you know, those twists that actually happened. And there's only one twist I'm not really sure if I guessed correctly because I couldn't find it. But almost every single one of these I did. And I hated the ending, and I just didn't like where it was going, and this was, I don't recommend. I thought I would. The first 50 pages were beautifully written, I was enjoying the characters, and then for some weird reason, you know, I don't know, it was because Colleen Hoover wanted to sound like a different author, and so the Verity stuff is just so much, like, so much richer, and so much better written, and so much more enjoyable than the actual story she wrote, which I guess could be a problem with type of books like these. Either way, I don't recommend. I hate it. That was a DNF. And then my last book I read this month was Guru by Rapol. And honestly, this is literally just a book about, like, being a guru and how to be your own and how to be a better person. And I read it at work because it's been awful slow here lately. You're going to find out next month, next wrap-up. I read a few books at work. This was one of them. But this book in particular had moments, that's not a good moment. There's a lot of moments where he is dragged up to the beauty, like, like literal goals, but there's also moments of like this type of stuff because it is much more like a self-help book and things like that. What I recommend, I don't know, if it's something you're looking for, I was hoping for more like a memoir or something about RuPaul. It's not at all. Don't read it for this. And for that reason, I did give it 3 out of 5 stars. But I really did enjoy it, and I think there's a few things in here that I'll probably take with me. And honestly, it did make me feel better as a person. So if that's something you're looking for. But guys, that's my wrap up. I'm gonna hold up a whole bunch of books. So let me collect those for you. And then my picture should be probably a little bit more of these different books. I'm going to kind of include partial my TBR stuff. And that's just because I have 15 books to hold up. And, you know, you can lie a little. But for the stack that I do have a few of them, which is a lot more than normal. And, yep, I'm very impressed. I'm very happy with it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was stupid long. So, sorry about that. But I think it was necessarily stupid long. I'll talk to you guys very soon with another video soon. If you guys like this one, go ahead and hit the thumbs up. Don't comment down below. And of course, books 2 videos are coming, as well as my daily NaNoWriMo vlogs, because it's the month of November now. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you guys soon.